Alrighty, Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is Friday, last day of the week. TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday. Let's see, where are we and what are we looking at? Let's take a look at the stock market. The stock market's acting very comfortable. Let's put up the futures contract. Here's the S&P 500. Now, the Federal Reserve has basically started stimulating the economy now over the last 2 weeks. Since the last Fed meeting, they slowed the quantitative tightening down, QT versus the QE. What that means is basically is that they're putting, it's so hard to say if they're putting more money or less money, excuse me, into the, excuse me for a second. It's hard to say if they're putting more money into the markets or less money into the markets. But the key word there is they are putting money in the markets. So by doing QT, what the Fed chairman explained about 2 weeks ago when they were looking to see if he was going to cut the rates, he said, no, but I'm going to reduce QT. And so in other words, instead of them taking X amount of money each month out of the balance sheet, they cut it in half. So they're taking less money. What I mean is that they're loosening the money supply. That's what they're doing. Basically, the simplest way to describe it, they're allowing more money into the system. And so that's part of the manipulation that we're seeing going on here. They're not shrinking their balance sheet. The balance sheet is still growing. It's about $7.5 trillion, a little more than that, $7.5 trillion in the balance sheet. It was at a historic $9 trillion recently, and then we hear the stories. Then there's the classic rumors of a fourth or a third portfolio that has the bonds for Merrill Lynch, and they have the bonds for Citibank and Lloyd's of London, and Santander, and we could go on. Barclays Bank, Lehman bonds. Well, no, Lehman bonds they actually let disappear. The Bear Stearns bonds and Wachovio's bonds. I could go on and on and on. It's all part of the manipulation, and the end result is that they forced marriages of the companies that were going out of business back in 2008-9 to be connected to healthy businesses that didn't do stupid things, didn't treat money stupidly. So from that, what happened was basically is that now the market keeps on going up, and I said it has that stupid money look to it. In other words, it doesn't go up when they're going down. Phrase that better, but there's not a lot of buying when it's going down. There's more buying when it's going up. So in other words, they're buying high and then buying higher and then buying higher again. And when it does sell off a little bit, they reach in and they buy it again. They just keep on buying it. So overall, higher lows like here. When we look at, let's get it over here like this. Right there. And there, like you see, this is a higher low than there and so forth. And that's pretty much the speed of our market. The way it's functioning is that it's being powered by Fed cash being loaned to institutions for overnight for free, or being charged incredibly low numbers for them to buy, so that they put pressure on the market on the upside. Now, unfortunately, from the president of the United States at the moment, none of his policies are working very well, so he doesn't have much to go on. They're trying to lock up the number one candidate that's ahead of him in the polls, and they're trying to do anything they can to retain power. But the only way they, at this point, at their disposal, in other words, they have the opportunity, is they can use the Treasury, they can use the government, the Department of Justice, they can use anything that will make them look better. Use the Federal Reserve, so forth and so on. In other words, use all kinds of government agencies, FBI, whatever they can do to make themselves look better, they do. Doesn't matter if it's legal or illegal, they're doing it. Doesn't matter to them at this point because they need to hold on to power because they obviously have issues, and I mean personal issues, not the governing issues. It's more of personal issues. Obviously, they're trying to hide something. So the market just keeps on finding ways to go up because the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury and so forth are basically pushing the market up. And they'll keep on doing it and doing it until probably the election at this point. And at the same time, that's a double-edged sword because everybody knows that Mr. Trump is going to win this election. And no matter what they do, it's not helping them, the opposition. So what you get is a healthy economy. We're getting the Trump rally, basically. That's what it comes down to. Mr. Biden will obviously take credit for it all the way up until he loses the election. But in between there, he'll say it over and over again. And it's always fascinating. Last couple of days, he's telling everybody that Mr. Trump left him a 9% inflation rate. It's like, what? Inflation was at 1.41. But he's telling everybody on live TV and everywhere else that no, it wasn't. And it's like everything else with him. They just say whatever they want to say that will make them look better. So that's why we keep on seeing this strength in the market when our math was trying to tell us it wants to go down. Let's go over to the beta again. Right there. Let's see, right there. Here's the S&P 500. You can see since the Fed policy meeting right there, it's just kept on marching. Now you can see here, it went into the sell back in here. And you can see now they're finally starting to turn up. It's taking a lot of work to get it to turn up. The shorter term, of course, went into the buy there and ran up for a while. And then it tried to do a little correcting and is back into the buy again. So to a great extent, it protected. And you had a good general idea that there was some strength coming into the market. But at this point in time, there's no real selling because they know that whatever selling comes is met by federal the Federal Reserve buying or the Treasury, or they find ways to stimulate the markets. And since we don't have New York specialists anymore or market makers anymore, or we don't have any of that anymore, then the fund managers are getting free money at night. Their job is to buy. Their job is not to sell. So they may rotate a little bit out of their position, but overall they're holding the line, and they're more buyers than sellers because they're given billions of dollars to buy for free. And when you're paid to buy by your investors, and the government is making sure that you get extra money for free, well, it makes sense to me that it's going up. So, oh, look at that. They're getting tornadoes and hailstorms in Texas. So that's what we're looking at the moment. A sip of the water there. So you can see it there in the stock market. It's been very strong throughout the morning. It's up. The Dow Jones is up about 80 points, something like that, 75 points. The S&Ps is up. I think they're up about 9 points or 10 points, something like that. Let's see if I see them on the tape to see the exact what everybody else is seeing. Gold is up $33 because they're thinking that there's more liquidity out there. Silver is doing the same thing. Gold fought to get into the opposite direction. The dollar has been trying to rally. Let's put the dollar index up there. And it's been in a buy for a couple of days. Basically a little up today or unchanged, and the weekly is trying to push into the sell, as you see right there. Right there is the weekly sell. You see it. See that action right there. See if it shows up on the tape. Yeah, there it is. So As long as they are desperate to campaign this way, they're going to keep on doing it, and I don't see any reason why they would stop. And I would imagine we'll constantly see some strength. Now, there's one thing out there, the rumor's starting to get going, and it's not even a rumor. It's bigger than a rumor. Kevin Hassett, one of the very solid economists that have run management and budget and so forth, said that if Mr. Trump was put in handcuffs and taken off to jail for speaking, out loud, and that's what the judge keeps on threatening. If he speaks out loud, he's fined him $1,000 every time he does. But if he keeps on doing it, he was threatening to put him in jail. And again, it's not constitutional. It's wrong for what he's doing. But I'm talking about the judge. But there's concern now building about the bond market. And the question is we're watching, we watch the bonds and the interest rates every day. And if we start to see a crack in the system, maybe that's why we're seeing, let's put gold up on there at this point. Probably why we're seeing the strength in the gold, because they're starting to get that idea that I keep on, I saw the Bitcoin go into the daily buy yesterday. Let me just put that up there. Where is it at? GBTC, right there. And that went into the buy also. It's lifting up. And then we go over to Bitcoin itself, which has been is trying to lift up here. That's yesterday's position of it. And the daily hasn't kicked in yet. And if we start to see those things, they start reaching for those, then we have to be really concerned. Let's see, is there anybody on the chat line? I don't see anybody on the chat line. There we go. So that is something that's starting to get into the market. Was the guy that they have? The guy from Shark Tank was on this morning, said the same thing. Kevin O'Leary. He said basically that if they lock up Trump, I heard two different people today say it, and Jim Oreo from Chicago Mercantile said the same thing. If they lock him up, it's going to put pressure on the bond market enormously, because investors come to America because they believe law and order will protect their assets. But if they start seeing Banana Republic action like this, and they actually lock up Mr. Trump because he's trying to speak his piece, not that he broke any law, he's just not allowed to speak. The judges put a gag order on him, so which will be overturned over time because it's his First Amendment right to be able to speak, especially being the number one candidate and leading in the polls. It makes even more insane. But this is where we're getting this morning. We're starting to see people wake up to the fact that not only is it breaking the law what the president's doing, trying to put his opposition into jail, but what it'll do to the financial markets. It will shake up people that they'll start to believe that they can't trust the American legal system to protect their assets. Let's see. I'm looking at, what is it? The Tech 100 is up 55 points, and the Dow's up 77, and the S&P 500 are up 14. They all were higher, and they'll probably be there again. But I'm telling you, this train of thought is drifting into the market. It's becoming a theme now. And if it becomes a loud theme, the Federal Reserve won't be able to do anything about it. So there may be a change in this lawfare that they're doing. People are going to start to realize that this is dangerous, much more dangerous than they realize. And I think that's really the issue of it all. All right. I think that's gotten that out of the way. And so maybe we'll see money not treated so stupidly when they realize that it's one thing to pump and dump. That's what we used to call it on the trading floor. pump up the value of something and then sell it to somebody else. That's the dump. But this lawfare thing is going to start to freak people out more. And, sometimes you never know what will wake up a large amount of people out of nowhere. And if they start talking this more and more, this is going to be, because I guess what you could say is that Mrs. Yellen started it a week and a half ago with Mr. Powell. The same week that Mr. Powell was speaking, she was speaking about democracy. It's like, why is the treasurer of the United States talking about democracy? So we've definitely gone into the twilight zone. Let's put it that way. All right, we'll go over to the dollar index again. Let's see. Right there. And we'll see how they play this out. It's trying to get into a sell. They've been trying to knock it down. It's you can see it's trying to go down. We all know that the dollar normally goes up when interest rates are rising. But if people are starting to lose confidence because of the politics, that's what we may be starting to see, which is obviously well beyond anything we've ever seen in America. That's a real freak out to me. I don't even have an answer for it at this point. Or not an answer as much as I don't have anything more to say about it. I've said all I can say over the years when you listen to me about credibility and the Federal Reserve trying to be responsible and try to keep the balance sheet organized. But at this point, since everybody else is bankrupt, they don't have much of a choice. America can be as stupid as it wants to be at this point with money, because no one can turn around and say, you have these countries that want to create, the BRICS. They want to create an alternative to the dollar. Unfortunately, China is too weak to do it. Russia is too weak to do it. And the strongest BRIC out of all of them is the South African Rand. And that's not exactly running on as strong as it could be anymore. So, Mexico would have been a great leader to the BRICS, but it chose to stay away from it. India seems to be on the edge, not really getting that involved. It's talking to the BRICS, but it's not really participating with the BRICS. So you have a lot of weak nations trying to create the BRICS. Now, if you would get, all of a sudden some European nations joining the BRICS, then you might start to think, okay, things are getting worse. But the dollar doesn't have any real competition. The only true competition is the European Union. And what did we just saw? We saw, was it England just had 0.6% growth this quarter? So that's great. They're starting to actually go into the plus. I'm not sure if the European Union is in a plus or a minus at this point. It's always on the edge. And so, that's the second strongest currency and the second largest economy in the world. And so, when they try to pretend that China is, it's not. It just isn't. Unfortunately, it didn't take that path. It took the military side of it. But, we have come to, I guess you could say, we've come to a crossroads in the world markets. And looking at the dollar index there on the beta says to me, there's an issue with the dollar. In other words, we know there's an issue with it, but the problem is that now the five major currencies, the euro, the yen, the British pound, the Canadian dollar, the Swiss franc, and the kroner are basically a index. That's what we're looking at there. When we look at that dollar index, we're looking at those six currencies trading against the dollar as a unit. It's a kind of cap weighted. It's not a divisor. So in other words, the euro has something like 55% of the index, and then I think it's the yen is like 15%. There's 70% right there, just between the two of them. And then from there, the British pound's like another, I think it's like 10 or 12%. So that's 82. Then Canada is 8. That's 90. And then the kroner and the Swiss franc are both 5% each. So, this is what we're looking at. We're not just looking at an imaginary dollar. We're looking at a pairs trade of 6 currencies against the dollar when we look at the dollar index. And right now, it definitely doesn't look good. Let's put it that way. It doesn't look good. And at the same time, after all these months, we're starting to break into the sell there, as you can see. We're going into the weekly sell. And that's, when we start hearing all this illegal lawfare against a political candidate, and we hear traders and managers of money saying they have to do a second thought because, if he ends up getting locked up because he's trying to speak his mind, that turns us into something that the world is not looking for. They're not looking for a major banana republic. If they wanted a banana republic, they'd go to China. China's an easy banana republic with a fixed currency, no free speech and not free markets. And so they trade 2.5% to 3% a day in their currency in the world. And whereas, the euro is obviously the second largest active currency in the world. Competing. I mean, the Switzerland trades more currency a day with 8.5 million people than China does. So that says a lot. It really does. It's that to me is starting to make me feel that we're starting to come into a new situation. It's definitely newer, a new concern. That's what I mean by situation. It's a new concern that we've not had before, where we're actually going towards that what they call banana republic, where they're willing to lock up opposition in a political party because they can't beat them. And that, I can say this, all my years in the Wall Street arena, we always tried not to abuse the currency dominance of the United States. We wanted everybody to believe that we, followed laws. We tried not to overinflate, all the things that this particular administration seems to want to do. And for years we fought not to do those things, and they're doing it. And this, it's like, I guess it sounds like a Winston Churchill thing, It's not the end, but it could be the beginning of the end. And that's a scary thought. That is a really scary thought. All right. From there, we'll go over to the euro and take a look at the euro this morning and see how she's acting. And there it is right there. And right there. And let's put it up on the screen like so. Right there. And you see, now they're selling the euro down just a little bit. It went into the buy yesterday and started the lift, and all of a sudden now it's rolling over. It's like, wait a minute. I don't think it's going to roll over because, here we are. We're above the zero line there. And we're doing the same thing in the British pound. It would be nice to see the weekly try to turn up out of all this. Maybe next week will be the week that it does that. Now here's the British pound. British pound is flirting with the daily buy today. It's just above it by 0.00057. Now 6.1. So it's trying to lift up. Let's see. What else can we say about that or the other? They're both in weekly sells, and so I think honestly, I don't think the right now there's no clarity, there's no confidence, there's no conviction for anybody to do anything but wait. It's like political wait, and then wait again until the election. People are saying stuff around here like, oh man, we can't wait till we get a chance to vote at this point. And there you go again. There is the Swiss against the dollar. It went into the buy 2 days ago, and then 3 days ago now. It went into the buy here. Went up a little bit, fell down a little bit, right on the edge of the sell, or did it get into the sell? No, it didn't get into the sell. Missed it. And now you can see here it's just a little bit underneath it, but it is higher at the same time. You would think that they would be running towards. That's the good point. If there was a chance that the American dollar was going to collapse, we would be seeing it in the Swiss on the opposite side of it. And that's pretty much the way we look at these things. Whereas the euro, same thing. They would be reaching for the euro. All right. Another sip of water was nice. Let's go to the yen. They've been having their political problems. That's what all this crazy action has been over the last year and change. You can see it's back into the buy again, still in the weekly buy. They're really having problems with that. And I'll save looking at the Nikkei, and we'll go look at the Nikkei at the end with some of the world indices to see how the world is treating all the stock indices. Let's see. The Nikkei overall was just down a little bit. Nothing major. From there, we'll go over to the Turkish lira, which is making me happy. I love it that it stays inside this big box. I want it to stay there. I want to give you can see it's trying really hard to climb into the weekly buy. It's very, very close. Very, very close to going into the weekly buy. We only have about 8 more hours, and then is it 8 more hours? Yeah, I guess that is. So 9 o'clock, 3 on this side. Yep, 8 more hours, and it'll be done. 8 hours and 3 minutes to be exact. So it's flirting with that weekly buy. Over here, from there we go to the South African rand. There it is, right there. Seems to be playing with that big triangle. It's made a new low inside the triangle. They're buying South African rand. I'm not sure if it's it's as we have said before. I think the South African rand is overpriced. It shouldn't be up in the 18, 19s. It should be in the 12s and 13s because of the price of gold. And when we go and look at gold, let's show you that right there. Nope, not right there. Right there. There is the gold. And gold, is up around, it was as high as 2,385. And it's still up, I guess it was like 85. So it's up about $22. Was as high as $33. You can see the daily buy is comfortable, and it has pulled out of that attempt to go into the weekly sell and is back in the weekly buy again. See the same thing with silver. Silver looking the same way. Didn't pop as much, but it has been firm throughout the night and now the day. And you can see it's in a weekly buy for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. So, like I said, it's becoming there. I've heard some traders talk about the idea to loosen up on the tech stocks. They're a little people are a little curious why Navarra is not roaring up to like $1,000 or $1,200 at the moment. But there's really talk about moving out of some of those tech stocks because the inflation they feel is going to be continuous. It's going to be stingy, I guess you could say. That's really what it comes down to. They think it's going to be stingy. Stingy. So. Let's see what else we got here. That's the silver. And then what we'll do is we'll slip over to copper. I heard recommendations for copper this morning too, with the concern of the political lawfare that's been going on. You can see at one point they were talking about it a lot this morning, and you see all of the metals and everything were popping up. There was strength kicking out everywhere. And it went into the buy there yesterday, and then they made a nice dash to the trying to get to that 480 area. And we're still in that weekly buy. So there's a lot of question marks going on right now. They're not sure what to do with this insanity, with the lawfare, because it's an illegal thing. You can't stop somebody from speaking, but this judge keeps on threatening to and fining Mr. Trump every time he speaks now. Just fines him. All right. We'll sip again. Now, from there, we go to the most dangerous short in the world as far as I'm concerned. And that is the platinum. And as you can see right there, platinum is just perking along with no problem and making another high, breaking through the $1,000 area right there. And what else can we say about any of that? It's going to be 7th week in a buy. Because I doubt they're going to sell it down. There's no particular reason to believe they would. All this talking is making me thirsty, so I'm just drinking more and more water. All right, that's it. That's the metals complex. But I really didn't expect to see metals. They tried to flirt with the sell side on the metals today. In the last couple of days, they've flirted with it. But like I said in the beginning of this webinar, a lot more question marks are starting to kick out about what's going on politically. They call it lawfare around here nowadays. All right, let's take a look at the bonds. You can see here the bonds tried to lift up yesterday, showing a little weakness here today. Looks like it's going to get into the weekly buy. It's trapped inside that big channel down. We're keeping an eye on those bond vigilantes, that's for sure. And then let's go over to, let's see, what do we got here? There is crude oil. Let's take a look at the crude oil this morning. There's crude oil. Trying to perk its head up a little bit. Nothing major, but it is trying to perk its head up. And as you can see here, same situation. It's trying to perk its head up here, but we're still in that weekly sell for a third week. And excuse me. If they, I don't know if there's going to be a panicky mood or not. I would say not. I think we just saw it in the last hour and a half, when a couple different people from different directions came out and said basically, hey, this lawfare could actually threaten the dollar. And that was something that no one had been talking about. And we talk about it here in the sense that we've tried, Wall Street has tried to respect its position as the world reserve currency. But we've kind of lost it under the Biden administration. They're just doing anything and everything they want. And unfortunately, right now, the world just isn't in any shape to compete with it. All right, and that's the crude. So now let's take a look at the crude on the beta. Right there. And you can see there, it's lifting up for the last 3 days. In a buy, and let's take a look at that weekly. I know we've been in a weekly sell. Yeah, 3 weeks in a weekly sell. Same as on the other platform. Right there. Then, let's see. Brent right there. 2 days in a buy there. You see its strength coming in. This is like a third day now in the buy. And you can see right here, it's also pressing down. But if it stays there, I don't expect to see a weekly buy until possibly next week. With it having some strength next week, that included. We need to see the strength next week. Then from there, we go over to natural gas. And there's natural gas right there. Natural gas has been pushing up, and it's been going on for weeks now. And the weekly's been in a weekly buy for 3 weeks, and it's 4 out of the last 5 weeks. So they're reaching for the natural gas, and at the same time, normally natural gas is lower when they're drilling more. And since Mr. Biden keeps on blocking the drilling, it's messing that concept up. All right. Let's go to Spain. Right there. And this product is playing with the 25 area, which is amazing. We got down to the 19s, and now we're back up to the 25s. I'm laughing at what's up on the tape at the moment. Mrs. Clinton is saying, justice delayed is justice denied. She's a strange duck. Let's see. From there, that's pretty much it. We've done the energies and the metals. And we're cruising along to where are we headed for now? Let's go to... Where's it at here? Well, let's go take a look at those stock indices since no one's asking about them. Let's go, or not asking anything really. Let's go over to the Nikkei and see what the Nikkei looks like. Right there. And right there you can see, it looks like the dollar in some ways, doesn't it? And you can see here, just the last 2 weeks. You can see it is higher from its lows today, but it's a little under than where they closed, and you can see we're in a sell for a second day. Weekly sell, as much as it's trying to lift, still seems to keep us in that sell. From there, we'll slide over to the South Korea Kospi Index, right there. That's in a sell for a few days, 2 days, and it looks like 4 out of the last 5 days. And you can see the weekly, same situation, is now a full 6 weeks in a sell. From there, in Taiwan, you can see they pressured it a little bit. It was trying to get into a sell, but has not succeeded. And it's been in the buy now. Is that a buy there? Yep, that's a buy there too. Is it? Yep, it's a buy there too. So it's been 3 full days now in a daily buy. And it's fighting to go into that weekly sell. We'll know tonight. We'll see how that goes tonight. From there, we'll go over to the Philippines. There's the Philippines. And you can see that's been the last 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6 days it's been in a sell, pressing down. And at the same time, you see it's been in 10 weeks in a weekly sell. So they've been putting a lot of pressure on that. Here's another analyst. Let's see what he has to say. They're talking about the bonds. Okay, so he's not saying anything yet about the bonds. I want to see if he's going to say the same thing. That's Kenny Polcari from Slate Stone Wealth, Chief Market Strategist. And so from there, we go over to, let's see. There it is, right there. There's the Shanghai. Shanghai's been in a very strong move. You can see that right there. And you can see, daily buys, 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 buys. And you can see buy, buy, buy on the weekly. 5 full weeks now. Okay. He thinks there's a... Interesting. He's basically saying that they're just testing levels, and bonds and so forth are just stalled at the moment. All right. From You can see the Chinese market's been very firm and taking out the highs of the last 3 months, and Hong Kong is even like way, way even more stronger. Let's put that up there. There's Hong Kong, and it's in the daily buy, and for a second day, and at the same time, we have the weekly 4 full weeks of it. All right. They're going after Nome, who might be the vice president candidate. All right. From the Hang Seng, we go over to the Singapore Straits Times. Let's check that out. Right there. There it is. You see they lifted it up today after a couple of days of selling. It's still in the sell. We'll see how they settle it out tonight. It's been 10 weeks in a buy, so you couldn't play the short side either way. You just wanted to be hedged for the downside. That's about it. And there's obviously a difference between playing something short versus being hedged. Then from there, we slide down to the All Ordinaries Index out of Australia, and it's up for the day, but it was kind of weak, and it's still showing that daily buy. And at the same time, let me just double check that right there like that. Yep, there's the 10th. Okay. And at the same time in that, you can see the weekly is trying to get into that buy. We'll know tomorrow if it does that by the close of the day. And then from the All Ordinaries, we slide across over in the Indian Ocean to India. And you can see here it's been in a sell for at least 6 days now, and you can see that pressure on it. It was up for the day, but still on a downwardly slope with the red dot still. And you can see this is the 3rd full week in a weekly sell, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to pull out of that nosedive, I guess you could call it. All right, and then from there, we slide over to Europe. Let's see what the DAX is doing. DAX has been running hot and heavy. Look at that. Look at that move. That's we've been talking about that. It's running very firm. And it's the 2nd week in a weekly buy with no problem. So that's been a winner chicken dinner there. And then, what we'll do is we'll go over and check out Amazon and so forth after this. Let's see. From there we go to the... there is the French index, the CAC 40, looking the same way. They're really reaching for that just the same way. And it looks like it's the 2nd week in the buy there too. Then from there, we go over to the FTSE, which has been playing with all-time highs. Same situation right there. Lots of good pressure on a lot of these things. And look at the FTSE on the daily. What's that? 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14 out of the last 15 out of the last 14 days. That's what it is. 15 out of the last 14 days. It's been in a daily buy. And it's been 10 full weeks in a weekly buy. And again, they don't seem to be backing off whatsoever there. And then we'll go back to the U.S. and take a look at the 4 indexes there. And there is the S&P 500 playing with the weekly buy. And it has been it's a 6-day and a daily buy as we speak. And then you can see the Tech 100 is right on the edge. And it is 6 days also in a daily buy. So, you know, that weekly could flip very easily tonight. Then from there we go take a look at the grand lady of them all, and that is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, showing a second week in a daily buy. And I thought that was really curious last week when I saw that weekly buy kicking out. I thought, wow, what's that? What is it trying to tell us? You know, we're thinking they're going to back and fill them, but now everybody's caught on that the Fed is loosened already. Instead, money is pouring in, and they're buying because they've got nothing else to do. And I know everybody is trying to, you know, basically jump into the bond market because, you know, getting 4.5% and 5% interest is really good. You know, I mean, over 10 years or, you know, 5 years and 2 years. I think the 2 years. Well, let's just take a quick look. So let's take a look at the last index. There it is right there. This reflects speculation. You can see the strength in it. It's been moving up. And you can see the same thing here. We are now on the 6th day in a daily buy and easily climbing into the weekly buy, which says a lot. Huh. Wow. Yeah, times have changed. They just played a Biden clip saying that he would never do something that he just did. He's a funny guy. Let's see. Now from there, I wanted to go over and look at, what was it? I was starting to say something. I was looking at, what was I thinking about? Well, we see the Bitcoin is just hanging there. But what was that other one? I wanted to look at one other thing. Let me go through the list real quick. And then I'll go over to the stock market, to Amazon and so forth. No, I don't see it. It's not jumping out at me at the moment. So it'll come back to us. So let's jump over to the stock market now and look at individual stocks. Okay, let's see, right there. Let's take a look at the Amazon. It should be up a little bit today, or well, it's down a little bit, nothing major, but it's been daily buy for 5 days. You know, might be 6 days actually from there. Let's see what that says. Yep, 6 days in daily buy. Still in that weekly sell, and the only thing moving up is the fast. So, if it closes in a weekly buy, you know, I mean, the next logical thing to do is sell against the puts we're long. That's what it comes down to. All right, and so there's that. Now, over here on Apple, Apple's looking really insane. It went into the buy yesterday. Looks like it's a little bit firmer today, and it's 3 weeks in a buy, so you couldn't be short out of all this mess. And that's what it looks like. This is all that earnings mess. Went into the sell, but we were in a weekly buy, and we couldn't take it. I remember saying it at the time. It's a neutral position. But that's why we're in a neutral position, because our math is telling us to stay out of this. And sure enough, it gapped up with their earnings, and you know, it just reflected a lot different than what people were expecting. And next thing you know is the Apple's looking very firm, and it wouldn't surprise me if it tries to keep on lifting a little bit more. Let me think now. Where are we on? So that pretty much does all the things we've looked at. Let's take a look at SPY. There we are. You can see here the SPY's been in a daily buy for 6 days too. And the weekly is trying to turn. In fact, let me take a look at it on the beta. Beta is actually reflecting right there a little strength there. You see that right there? That beta is really reflecting that. And at the same time, you can see the same thing over here. It needs to get going this morning, and who knows, this weekly might jump up just like that with this type of action. All right, now yeah, we can see Tech 100 too. Let's put Tech 100 in there. Right there. You see that right there. You see that strength kicking out also, and we'll see how that plays out throughout the next 6 hours. Basically, that's what it really comes down to. Is we'll see what kind of strength we get out of that action. Let's see. What else we got going on here? Oh, I know what I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at the bonds. Let's go in and look at the bonds. You know, in other words, what's a 5-year or, you know, a 10-year or any of that stuff is doing at this point in time. That's the fascinating thing, really, because they're you know, we're seeing some. This is where, if it explodes or it's going to get wild, that's the place it's going to happen. Okay, that's exactly the place it's going to happen. Let's see. Let me go try to put the bonds up on the screen here. There it is. As you can see there, 1 month is at 5.37. 2 month is at 5.39. Basically, 3 month is the same. It's 5.389. It's very close. You see the 4 month is out to the 5406 area. In other words, it's over 5%, all the way to the 2 year. And it's very hard to not want to, you know, take benefit of that. Really, I mean, honestly, that's the truth of it all. Really, it's like, you know, why not? You know, I mean, if you can lock 20 or 30% in that area for 10, you know, for just you're talking only like a year, 2 years. You know, that's compared to the way remember, the world has gotten, I wouldn't call it comfortable, but they've become familiar with zero what do you call it? Zero interest rates. And so, you know, the idea that you can actually get government bonds at 5% or 5.25%, you know, you would think that people would want to, you know, well, look, the 1 year, see that right there, the 1 year is over 5%. You know, you might as well say, hey, you know, buy the bonds and see how this, you know, with the 30 or 40% of your assets, and then, you know, you go, and there's things called tips that you can buy that are inflation fighters. So in other words, you would get 5%, or, you know, depends on what the tip is, but, you know, you could get like 4.5% or 5%, and it's adjusted to inflation on top. That's how it works. Whereas these bonds don't. These bonds are adjusted. They're basically at 5% with inflation at 3.5%, 4%. You're only making 1%. But tips probably are trading in the 2s or the 3s. And so if inflation roars up more over the next 6 months, you're still getting 2s and 3s. And that's how the tip situation works in the end result. So, you know, money is going to lean in that direction, and that's what I was thinking about when we were finishing off the stock indices, was just the idea how much those things are in our face screaming, hey, I'm a good deal. Why don't you just buy me and hang out for like a year or 6 months or something of that nature. All right, traders, I guess we got to come up with a title today. Yesterday was stupid money, and today is it's even worse. Lawfare could destroy the bond, you know, hurt the dollar. Lawfare. Lawfare. Lawfare could hurt bonds and dollar. Let's see. Yep. Oop. Yeah, lawfare. There. Let's try that. There we go. Lawfare hurts. Let's see. Hurts bonds and dollar. I think that's the best way. That's the title today. Let's see. Title. 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 There we are. All right, traders. We will see you all Monday. Same time, same channel. So this is Doc from North America saying happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Later, traders. Have a safe and smart weekend, and we'll catch you on Monday. Ta-ta for now.